Welcome, friends, and good morning, afternoon, or maybe even evening. Isn't that the beauty of international forums? Hello, my name is Solome. I'm a 10th grader at the Village School in Houston, Texas, and will be one of the co-moderators for this session. Well, welcome to the group of friends of children in the SDGs community session at the first Global Forum for Children and Youth. A few quick reminders before this session officially commences. Spanish and French live interpretations are available. You may select your preferred language on the Zoom bar in the bottom of the screen. Additionally, this session meeting will be recorded and video clips may be used and shared publicly on social media channels, which we highly encourage. From global champions to local action, the theme for this session comes at a time of collective angst and struggle. These past 2 years have been marked by stagnant economic growth, augmented violence, rising temperatures, and unsolicited death. It is no secret that the COVID-19 pandemic, along with various other conflicts, has exacerbated distrust and turmoil, disrupting the progress made on the Sustainable Development Goals, commitments vital to building a more equitable, brighter future. And amidst the smoke of such turmoil stands 2.2 billion children, whose futures we hope to shield and illuminate today. For with disruption comes opportunity. And today, several of our speakers are accompanied by a child or young person, a beacon of hope from your respective countries. On behalf of them and all children, this session must be one in which our respective nations solidify our commitments to children's rights in relation to the SDGs, as well as implement meaningful long-term action that advances the rights of the child on a national, regional, or international scale. And dedication towards this endeavor isn't a new phenomena for this group of friends, which since its formation in 2015 has grown to encompass over 67 countries, all passionate about uplifting our youth. The group has tackled some of the most pressing and complex troubles of our time, ranging from migration to access to education. The group of friends' distinctiveness is that it is an action-oriented body. Via statements during negotiations, letters to the UN body, or side events, they've secured strong language in the 2030 Agenda, the Global Compact for Migration, and the HLPF Ministerial Declaration. One of the core pillars of this group's advocacy is meaningful participation of children and young people in decision-making. This is the reason why there are young delegates present here today, as well as why Yasin and I are moderating this session. Participation in events such as this one have been instrumental in shaping youth advocacy and progressing both global and local communities. I know this from firsthand experience. After attending the UNICEF side event at the high-level political forum this past summer, I was equipped with the tools to further evolve my community in school. I was inspired to grow my menstrual product availability initiative, reform our dress codes, as well as establish an environmental council that aims to reduce my school's carbon emissions to help accomplish SDG 11 on sustainable communities. Therefore, this session must affirm hope and cement our commitment to it by elevating our future, our children. With that, this session is officially open, and we will begin with our keynote speakers, the co-chairs of the group of friends. First, I would like to invite His Excellency Mr. Xavier Bettel, Prime Minister of Luxembourg, to the floor for his remarks. Thank you.
Excellences, chers amis, le Luxembourg.
Excellencies, dear friends, Luxembourg.
Sur les enfants et les jeunes. Il y a presque 2 ans.
Session on the rights of children. For almost 2 years, this pandemic has struck us in full force. We're still impacted by its adverse effects. However, the most vulnerable among us are still being hardly hit. I'm speaking about the children and the young. The disruptions in the sector of education are one of the worrisome education, because school pupils have lost 1,800 billion hours of in-person teaching to limit the propagation of the pandemic. This learning has enabled to the most privileged to go on with their studies. The digital environment is not a guarantee and has adverse effect. That's why Luxembourg, with its partners, is committed to draft a declaration on right of children in the digital environment, so that they can have a full exercise of their rights while ensuring their protection given the threats. All children have the right to grow and to learn in a secure environment without discrimination, both online and offline. Childhood and youth are exploration phase of self-discovery, during which children and youth discover their own identity and our duty in this process. So with this background, the Luxembourg's National Ministry for Education, Childhood and Youth commits itself to promote the well-being of girls and boys so that they become aware about sexual rights and all aspects of their sexuality. So the elaboration of a draft guide with information recommendations to meet the LGBTI and children and youth rights, and it will be an integral part of this commitment. Luxembourg commits itself to draft legislation enabling to protect the rights of intersex children, to preserve their physical integrity, their autonomy and self-determination through the prohibition of surgical and hormonal procedures performed without their personal consent. For Luxembourg, it's pivotal to guarantee the protection of all children, both on our national level and internationally. Beyond the voluntary contribution of 6 million euros and thematic consideration we delivered to UNICEF for the fiscal year of 2021, we commit to a complementary contribution of 1 million euros to promote the access to water, sanitation, and hygiene services for children, especially for girls in Afghanistan. Starting on January 1st, 2022, Luxembourg will have the honor to sit at the UN Human Rights Council for the first time. The promotion of children's rights is a priority for a country. We are aware that this is only by ensuring actual participation of children and youth in the decision-making process, then the UN will be inclusive and relevant for future generations, directly involved by Agenda 2030. Luxembourg will go on promoting the actual participation of children and young in the UN process, both in New York and Geneva. Dear friends, children and young are active players of the positive change we want to create. They have the right to be listened to. They are the future of our planet. Together, we will be able to address today, tomorrow's challenge. I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your commitment to cementing children's rights to education free of discrimination, as well as protection of intersex children. Now, representing Luxembourg's children and youth, I would like to give the floor to Jade.
Hi, my name is Mariam. I'm a 16-year-old teenager growing up in luxury in Luxembourg. Yes, as the name of the country suggests, this is actually true for most of us who live here. We live in the luxury of leading an economically privileged life, knowing this is not the case for many other young people across the world, and indeed for some of the less fortunate here. We live in the luxury of a happy, peaceful life, enriched by the many different cultures and nationalities that live here together with friends from all over the world. We know, however, that this is not the case in many other parts of the world. We grow up with the opportunity to speak and act freely. Our country is led by a prime minister who's not afraid to live the life he wants to. In other countries, people might go to jail or even worse by doing so. People say, you don't know what you've got until it's gone. I prefer to say we know exactly what we have, but we never think we could lose it until it actually happens. Parents can lose their jobs, and all of a sudden, for example, a good friend of mine needs to move out of the country. The family cannot afford to live here anymore as life in Luxembourg is quite expensive. Young people and children struggle with their mental health. That I know from a friend of mine who got quieter and quieter until she had almost vanished, or another very talented, super bright friend who unfortunately is not with us anymore. Many of us get lost in the all fake reality of social media, desperately trying to find our place in a jungle of truths, lies, and unreachable dreams where in the end, nobody really knows anymore where the truth lies and what happened to the dreams. Borders can be shut down, and all of a sudden you cannot visit your other friend anymore who lives in the neighboring country of Germany, borders that some of us were never even really aware of until Corona. And through the prospect of losing things, we recognize their value. We recognize the luxury that many of us enjoy and that other people might not have. Things that should not be a luxury, but a right for everyone. Safety, freedom, absence from hunger, opportunities, and love. This is why we choose to become active through the Youth Parliament or the Youth Council, as a UNICEF Youth Ambassador through Fridays for Future or any other channel that can help make the rights a reality. We choose to believe that people can change because that is our only chance to deal with the challenges ahead. Luxembourg's motto is, let's make it happen, but I would like to change the slogan a little to, let's make it matter. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jade, for your heart-touching speech and mental health advocacy. I know from personal experience that this is such a vital commitment. All right, now we will hear from Dr. Eleonora Lilova, Chairperson for Bulgaria's State Agency for Child Protection. Dr. Lilova today is accompanied by Youth Representative Emily.
Excellencies, Madam Executive Director, dear children and dear friends of children. This year marks the 6th anniversary of the group of Friends of Children, and I would like to give credit to all our 66 members and observers, as well as to UNICEF's remarkable team and the Executive Director, Ms. Henrietta Fore. Bulgaria is among two co-founders of the group of children, and it's a privilege to co-chair this important format while building upon the existing momentum. But before I continue, I would like to give the floor to a young participant from my country.
Hello, my name is Emily and I am from Bulgaria. I am proud to be a member of the Children's Council, which is a national advisory body to the State Agency for Child Protection. Today, I feel extremely honored to have the chance to speak at such a big forum. The message I want to convey is simple, but very important. We, the children, want our voice to be heard at home, at school, in the hospital, in the communities we live in. We want to be consulted and involved in the activities and decisions that concern us, and have access to information presented in an appropriate and understandable way. We don't want to feel excluded when plans and decisions are made. We see, we hear, we feel, we think, and by participating, we can improve the society we all live in.
Thank you, dear Emily. As the chairperson of the State Agency for Child Protection, and personally as a parent and educator, I highly value children's opinion. Children's voices should be strongly considered by decision makers and all adults. Decisions on issues concerning children must be made together with them. To this end, I have made the commitment to propose to the National Council for Child Protection to set up a mechanism for collecting and discussing opinions and suggestions coming from children. It will allow children to participate in the process of developing municipal child-related policies so that this can be tailored as much as possible to the needs of the children and their families in each of the 266 municipalities in Bulgaria. We will work together with the children's parents from the public councils in each kindergarten and school to make sure children's voices are heard when implementing activities at local level. In the Republic of Bulgaria, we intend to update the Code of Ethics for professionals working with children, such as social workers, doctors, and medical staff, teachers, police officers, judges, etc., which will enhance their abilities to respect children and their rights and to adopt a child-friendly approach to their work. We'll design training programs to increase their knowledge, such as talking to children in accessible, comprehensible, and age-appropriate manner, and discussing together with them solutions that concern them. I believe that by motivating professionals and improving their skills, the quality of life for children in Bulgaria will also improve. Another priority for us is to empower children for vulnerable communities. Unfortunately, every third child in Bulgaria, or about 400,000 children, live at risk of poverty and social exclusion. Reducing child poverty is a top national priority, and the Bulgarian government will increase the investment to address this. By 2030, over 200,000 children will have been supported through the National Plan for the implementation of the European Child Guarantee Loan and through accompanying programs. We have gathered much positive experience from the interinstitutional cooperation under various national programs, and there is a certain amount of the state funding for coverage and retention of children in the educational system. By 2030, in Bulgarian state is committed to ensuring at least 91% share of all 4-year-old children to be covered in preschool education and 98% share of 7-year-old children to be covered in school education. We'll continue our efforts and invest sufficient financial resources to reach and retain at school as many children as possible. Sectoral policies are being developed in Bulgaria for providing care and protection for children, supporting families, quality and inclusive education and healthcare, access to services, appropriate housing conditions, thus improving their well-being. As a representative of Bulgarian state, I believe that the major instrument for this is the actual involvement of children themselves. That is why we will work hard towards growing up together with our children, thus achieving better results. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Emily and Dr. Lilova, for your speeches, as well as your proposed commitments to developing more in-depth child municipal policies, elevating children's voices and community participation, as well as overall empowering children at risk for poverty and social exclusion. Now we will hear from Mr. Robert Morgan, Minister of State in the Ministry of Jamaica's Education, Youth, and Information. Thank you.
Good morning. I would like to recognize Henrietta Fore, Executive Director of UNICEF, as well as His Excellency Mr. Xavier Bettel, Prime Minister of Luxembourg and Co-Chair, as well as Her Excellency Ms. Eleonora Lilova, Chairperson of the State Agency for Child Protection of Bulgaria and Co-Chair. All groups of friends, members, moderators, Salimi from the United States, Yasin from the UAE. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to participate in today's high-level community session in the capacity of co-chair of the group of friends On Jamaica's behalf, and I join fellow co-chairs, His Excellency Xavier Bettel, Prime Minister of Luxembourg, as well as Leonard Lilova, Chairperson of the State Agency for Child Protection in Bulgaria, and welcoming you to this meeting. I would like to express my appreciation to the United Nations Children's Fund, and in particular its Executive Director, Henrietta Fore, and their team, as well as the governments of Botswana and Sweden, for convening of the inaugural Global Forum for Children and Youth, and for making it possible for the group of Friends on Children and Sustainable Development Goals to host its first high-level community session. This is an extraordinary meeting and is a testament to the growing commitment of the group of Friends to ensure the needs and the rights of children are promoted. I'm here before you today to highlight some of Jamaica's key commitments in the interest of protecting the rights of children commensurate with the Sustainable Development Goals defined by the world of the child, the world around the child, and the world at large. The severity and frequency of violence against children in Jamaica and the rest of the world is alarming. We have launched a national plan of action for an integrated response, and this was established in commemoration of the 30th anniversary of the Convention on the Rights of the Child and International Child Abuse Prevention Day. 12 laws and 5 policy instruments are outlined in our plan for reform, and I will mention a few. We're going to reform our main child rights law, which is the Child Care and Protection Act, which was established in 2004, and particularly repealing Section 24, which speaks to the authority of the judiciary to arbitrarily place children in correctional facilities. We've also launched a 211 helpline, which is the first of its kind 24-hour confidential hotline where persons can call and report child abuse. We're also introducing legislation to prohibit the use of corporal punishment in all settings, and its reflective ineffectiveness as a means of discipline is a stance that we are resolute on. We've also launched the Child Online Protection Committee, especially in an environment where many children now are engaged in online learning due to the pandemic. And we're also including children and youth in our advisory bodies, such as the National Youth Advisory Council, the National Youth Council of Jamaica, the Jamaica Union of Tertiary Students, and several others who participate in guiding and influencing government policy on children. One of the foremost priorities of the Ministry of Education is bridging the digital divide, and we've launched the One Laptop Per Child and Own Your Own Device initiative, where over 125,000 tablets and laptops have been distributed. We recognize also that many children have been disconnected from the education system and have launched our Yard to Yard initiative to go into communities and find every single child who are not engaged in the education system. I want to close by mentioning that Jamaica is located in the region that comprises the second most disaster-prone area in the world. We and the Caribbean at large continue to be hard hit by natural disasters such as droughts, floods, hurricanes, earthquakes, and volcanoes. And this will only grow in frequency as climate change impacts the world. We have made initiatives to protect the future of our young people and children as it relates to climate change. We now have 14 forestry orders. We've declared a large percent of our country, which is 30%, as the cockpit country protected area, which is one of the most important ecosystems in Jamaica. We've banned single-use plastics in many cases. We've also seen increases in the capacity and connection of proper sewage systems and enacted a biodiversity policy. We've also converted one of our main islands, peripheral to Jamaica, called Goat Islands, into a nature reserve. And there's an ongoing project to plant 3 million trees over the next 2 years. We've made significant progress as a country for the promotion and protection of the rights of children and youth over the years, with linkages to the Sustainable Development Goals, such as Goals 3, 4, 10, 11, 13, 15, and 17, among others, and the realization of Agenda 2030. However, there is still a great deal of work to be done to ensure our children most urgent needs are met and their basic goals are advanced. I welcome the commitments and good practices disseminated here today by my fellow participants, and I look forward to the possible synergies to be born out of this extraordinary meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister, for your commitment to ending violence against children through legal code reforms, for increasing youth inclusion in Jamaica's national advisory body, as well as your various environmental protection initiatives, which are vital to the SDGs. Now, we will hear from UNICEF's Executive Director, Henrietta Fore, a champion on children's economic development, education, and humanitarian assistance. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Salome, and it is great to see all of you on the screen today, our friends. So let me join everyone in celebrating what is a first of its kind high-level meeting of the Group of Friends and the Sustainable Development Goals. And I would like to reflect on one word in our name, friends. What is an ideal friend? It's someone that celebrates and cheers on your accomplishments, but also someone who is there for you when you need it most. And when it isn't easy and when it isn't the most convenient, or when there are many other challenges in the way. We all remember our childhoods, and some of us are in our childhood, and that our first friends and what that felt like. Every child needs a friend. And in today's world, we need friends of children more than ever. This is why UNICEF has convened this Global Forum for Children and Youth 2021 now, and why we've invited our closest friends to come and join. Children do need us right now. They're facing massive challenges, as you have mentioned, Salome, that have been exacerbated by COVID-19. Education has been completely disrupted. Mental health issues have been made worse by the loneliness and the isolation of the pandemic. And there are already unacceptable inequalities based on gender, ethnicity, wealth, and disability status, and they have all deepened and widened. But children are also hopeful and resilient and innovative, and they're asking us to join them in celebrating their accomplishments and also investing in solutions that will create a healthier, safer, more equal, and sustainable world for all of us and for the next generations of children to come. Your group has been an amazing friend to these children in the past 6 years, and you have made sure that your voices are heard in the halls of power at the UN and that their needs and rights factor into the decision-making process. Today's session is not only a celebration of that global advocacy, but also a critical link to the operational and tangible actions that you are talking and taking with and for children at local, national, and regional levels. In sum, you are not just friends in words, but you are friends in action. So thank you so much to the co-chairs and leaders of the Group of Friends of Children and the Sustainable Development Goals, Bulgaria, Jamaica, and Luxembourg, and to all of our 67 members. I'm honored to be here with you today to celebrate this strong friendship. So, dear friends, let your voices carry around the world as champions, advocates, and partners for children. Thank you. Back to you, Salome.
Well, thank you, Executive Director, for your empowering words. And thank you to all of you so much for your attention. It was an honor to moderate this half of the session. And I will now virtually pass the moderation baton to Yasin. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Salome. Distinguished guests, my name is Yasin, and I am a Year 13 student at Nord Anglia International School, Dubai. I'm honored and excited to be the moderator for the next part of this session. In order to accommodate all of the members of the Group of Friends who have requested the floor, it is possible that we may need to run a few minutes over the 8 a.m. end time. We hope all participants and audience members will be able to stay on for as long as possible, and kindly ask that all speakers joining us live stick to the 5-minute time limit. Additionally, while we will not have time for comments or questions, we encourage our audience to post on the chat any questions, and we will pass them on to the relevant focal points. I would now like to introduce our next speaker, Her Excellency Ms. Mariam Shabi Talata, Vice President of Benin.
commencer. Madame la directrice exécutive de l'UNICEF, Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs les chefs d'État, Mesdames et Messieurs les ministres, chers membres du groupe des amis des enfants et des ODD, chers enfants et jeunes, filles et garçons. C'est un honneur pour moi de prendre la parole au nom du président de la République du Bénin, M. Patrice Talon, au premier forum mondial sur les enfants et les jeunes. J'exprime toute ma reconnaissance à tous les acteurs qui se sont investis intellectuellement, physiquement et financièrement pour la tenue effective de ce forum. Permettez-moi de remercier, au nom du président de la République et en mon nom propre, l'engagement de l'UNICEF qui, depuis 75 ans, accompagne nos gouvernements respectifs dans la mise en œuvre des conventions et orientations mondiales, régionales et sous-régionales de promotion et de protection des droits de l'enfant. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, chers jeunes et enfants, le Bénin s'est engagé depuis le 3 août 1990 à protéger les droits de tous les enfants en ratifiant successivement la Convention internationale des droits de l'enfant ainsi que la Charte africaine des droits et du bien-être des enfants en 1997. Cet engagement s'est traduit par des réformes institutionnelles et législatives au fur et à mesure que se présentaient les défis socio-culturels, économiques et religieux porteurs de vulnérabilités diverses à l'encontre des enfants. Plusieurs politiques et actions ont depuis lors été mises en œuvre. Au nombre des résultats majeurs obtenus au Bénin, je veux citer, entre autres, le vote et l'application du Code de
I would like to apply the application of the Code of Children with the policy of under the National Action Plan for the removal of children's labor in 2019. But the problem I would like to tell you about today is about violence against children in general, those who live in the street, and for instance, all kinds of children, but also girls. In Benin, there are girls who are victims of violence and ill treatment. Amongst those who are learning, some of them are harassed or victims of rape. Moreover, all the girls at school don't have the chance to remain at school until the end of their studies, sometimes because forced marriage, economic problems that parents undergo, or religious grounds. We know that more than one girl will be, the more a girl will be at school, the less she will be forced to marry. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as a reply to violence against children and girls, we have launched awareness-raising campaigns and a free telephone assistance, which is anonymous, to denounce violence against children. But with regards to persistence of the challenges, it is clear that ongoing education is the key to the expected changes. It must involve all the social layers, men more than, as well as women, men more than women, with this concept of positive masculinity. Also, we need to fight omerta and put in place programs to prevent, reduce, and punish violence done against children and girls, and also eradicate all the barriers against education, girls' education, and children in general. This is why Benin has therefore submitted a bill to punish men for sexual crime against children and for the protection of women and girls. This law has been adopted recently, and it also includes violence, gender-related violence, as well as sexual aggressions, rape, early marriage, genital mutilations, and violence on women and girls. This legal setting translates the commitment from my country to work endlessly in such a way that by 2030, all children in Benin, especially girls, can live in a family and community and legal framework context that are without violence against them, without any abuses against them, so they can enjoy all their rights and contribute with dignity to the development of our society. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, children and young people, I would like, as a conclusion, pay tribute to the actions undertaken by associations, organizations, and young and children movements that take part to these actions in favor to their generations. I would like to mention the relay for the advocacy of children and the young people that is supported by the UNICEF, that encompasses all the departments of the country in order to meet all the prefects, in order to remind them the growing vulnerability or the specific vulnerability related to children. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, to help us letting everyone know that children must play a key role in the building of our future. And excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and children, young people, I would like to thank the group of the Friends of the Children for organizing this forum, as well as all the multi-stakeholders. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Ms. Mariam Shabi Talata, for these important messages on the passage of stronger domestic law on gender-based violence. Now, I would like to introduce His Excellency, Mr. Adrian Takei, French Junior Minister for Childhood and Families.
Hello to you all. Can you hear me? Yes, you can. I'm sorry, I didn't think it was my turn already. Dear Excellency, but I'm very happy to be with you, dear Excellencies, dear children, dear group of friends of children, and dear Henrietta. Hope you're fine. I'd like to talk to you today about child protection in the digital world. Il y a 32 ans, 1989,
32 years ago, in 1989, the International Convention on the Children's Rights was launched. It's the foundation of the fundamental rights, and this convention was the first one to reckon for children compulsory rights that can't be negotiated, whether it is economic, political, cultural, civic rights, with this right to speak.
Exprimer si bien. Mais en 1989,
but in 1989, this convention, International Convention on Children's Rights, came up, and the internet didn't exist at the time. Whilst today, and as we know very well, 1/3 of the children who are 10 years in this country already have a mobile phone. So if digital tools are a great opportunity for children, such as access to education despite the health crisis, being open to the world, relationship with the others. However, digital tools can facilitate violence, can be a means for violence, up to the doors of school, even the bedrooms of the children, insults, pedocriminality, which is developed through dark webs. These are threats against which we have to fight. And this is the reason why on the 20th November 1989, 1989, at the UNESCO, it was about protecting better children against the digital tools. and not only about protecting the children, but also about supporting the parents with regards to the digital tools. And of course, we can't implement actions in an isolated way. We need to have a multilateral approach. It's about the states, but also the economic actors, the organizations, the NGOs, of course, and whatever our nationality is, because the digital tools and the threats related to digital tools have no borders. So on the 11th November 2021, during the Forum of Paris for Peace, there was another step, although there are many other steps that have to be implemented. And Emmanuel Macron, the French President of the Republic, submitted a call for action, which is supported by the UNICEF. And I would like to thank the UNICEF, Ariane 4, as well as her team. I would like to thank Mr. King, who was also at the Paris Forum for Peace. This is indeed a joint a joint action. I would like to pay tribute to also Morocco, Albania, several other countries. And with regards to the digital tools, YouTube, Facebook, and so on and so forth, and also different international organizations such as the UNICEF, of course, but also with Protect Global Alliance, Plan International, and Save the Children, and others. Reckoning the opportunities related to digital tools, because not all of them are evil, but also the threats that children are exposed to online. We are collectively committed to better educate our children with regards to the challenges related to digital education, helping children to have a digital learning to be in such a way that they can browse the web and be aware of the dangers, because the tools that we use, the digital tools we use nowadays haven't been designed for children. Second thing, it's about creating digital tools that are adapted to children in such a way that things are facilitated for children, for them to be able to have access to tools in order to facilitate emancipation in a safe manner and for all children. And third, protecting efficiently and effectively children against the dangers online, and also calling on the internet providers to make sure that all threats related against children to stop, and therefore to be more cautious with regards to children's rights. So we want a better by design and by default way to protect children in the digital related devices. It's also about removing quickly anything online which is which shows violence or other things that are threatful to children, but also the algorithms that may have contents that are noxious for children. So if I'm here with you, and if I chose this forum to speak on this topic, is because the purpose of this group is to focus on the specific needs of children and the teenagers, and also to have more tangible actions for things to move on. Now, I'm calling on all the parties, the governments, the enterprises, the different companies to join in this call in order to combat for values and rights in such a way that there's a public action for peace and protection of children. Hence this action that we have in order to protect the children against threats and dangers on the internet. It's about protecting children, of course, but also educating their parents on how to use these digital tools, and also to make people aware of the threats that are existing on the internet. And that's why I'm calling on this group of friends of children with us today to join in this cult faction and to sign this interstate declaration, this interstate statement that is going to be the first step towards our call for a collective action. So please do sign in and ratify with us this call. And the interpreter should like to apologize, but she can't hear anymore. Sorry for this.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for those critical messages on the importance of children's rights in the digital sphere. Our next speaker is Miss Maria Juliana Ruiz, the First Lady of Colombia, who will speak via a pre-recorded video made for this session.
Hola, muy buenos días. Yo soy María Juliana, primera dama de Colombia.
Hello, good morning. I'm the First Lady of Colombia, and I'm so pleased to be here today. Special hello to children and young people that are together, and the group of children's friends that are today in this high-level group. This has been a great help for children in Colombia with the support of the governments of Botswana and Sweden. One of the things that we have seen through all the pain we went through with COVID-19 is that we should go from words to action. We should give guarantees to the rights of children and adolescents. It must be a fact. And in Colombia, we are going together with our citizens from 0 to 28 years of age, from gestation until they are young people who can really start using their skills to have a happy life, especially with a social impact, a positive one. Our starting point has been nutrition, nutrition for the body and the heart. Nutrition for the body is within the Great Alliance, together with the Advisory Council of the Presidents for Young Children and Adolescents, with work that is aligned with SDG 2, which has been focused on improving so we try reducing deaths in children under 5 years of age. Last year, there was a reduction of 30% in Colombia. We are also looking for an alliance and trying to malnutrition, anemia, overweight, and obesity in our children and teenagers. And of course, we are also looking to favor security. When we think about nutrition of our soul, we have zero tolerance to any way of abuse or mistreatment of children and teenagers in Colombia. We have championed the big national alliance instead against violence towards children. This has been championed by 2 agencies in the government of Colombia, and now we are honored to be part of the Global Alliance to put an end to violence against children and teenagers. With all this, we try to contribute with many actors, with their commitment, and really they are convinced to look after children and teenagers, and we know that we really reach the goal of 1602 of SDG 16. Now we have an action plan to avoid risk, to strengthen the environment of protection and security with strategies and alliances, and with a frame that's really strengthened in order to protect young people. This frame has presented a project for life sentence for criminals against children, the fact that the non-applicability of crimes against children of a sexual notice, all this is a promise for the future. Their welfare should get all our dedication, all the collaboration. We are responsible. We should show sympathy, love, and our humanity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Maria Juliana Ruiz, for Colombia's actions and commitments to the integral development of boys, girls, and adolescents through nutrition programs and partnerships against violence targeted towards children. I would now like to introduce Mr. Andrew Morley, President and CEO of World Vision. He will be speaking on behalf of the Child Fund Alliance, Save the Children, SOS Children's Villages, Plan International, and World Vision.
Thank you, distinguished ministers, ambassadors, dear Henrietta, partners and friends. As we just heard, today I'm speaking on behalf of Child Fund Alliance, Plan International, Save the Children, SOS Children's Villages, and my own organisation, World Vision International. We're so encouraged to see the growth and evolution of this group of friends and the SDGs and children focus that we see from this group. Today's first ministerial meeting with heads of state shows firm commitments to the critical generation of children. It signifies a strong message that the group of friends is committed to see children grow up healthy, developed and protected, and also to see them empowered to contribute to societies as agents of change and as global leaders. We have some straightforward asks. Funding must be increased to all our agencies and policies introduced to end violence against children, as we've just heard from the First Lady of Colombia. Where promises are made, we and the children we serve across the world will hold governments to account and make sure they're followed through. Their lives depend on it, particularly in emergency settings. And we must recognise the devastating impact of COVID-19 on the most vulnerable children. Children and young people's voices are the most powerful of all. Often, we need to step back and let them speak, and then it's down to us to act. With a rising Zoom and online meetings, we can do just that, often connecting children and youth with governments to make their pleas directly, and they truly can make a difference. Like 16-year-old Sarafina from Ghana, who is one of World Vision's young leaders. She's campaigning to end child marriage and all forms of violence against children. World Vision has empowered her to lobby community leaders for change and conduct awareness-raising sessions with her peers and their parents. Sessions on the devastating consequences of child marriage. This is all about empowering and amplifying children's voices, and the results are spectacular. Sarafina and her friends have prevented many, many child marriages because we listened to her and together we acted. We must amplify children's voices as they continue to face historic challenges all around. The most vulnerable, marginalized and deprived children, particularly girls, are at an ever-growing risk of poverty. They risk falling out of school, losing a parent or caregiver, mental health issues that we've already heard about, sexual and gender-based violence, child marriage and early pregnancy, along with inequalities and discrimination. It's tough to be a child right now, and especially when vaccines are so unlikely and yet to reach children in developing countries and those furthest left behind. Children must be better protected through national and local systems, such as child protection mechanisms and social services. However, we observe with concern the rights of children, particularly girls, are lapsing at the United Nations as other priorities are elevated, with serious risk to children. This is happening at a time where children need us more than ever. So to close, our agencies stand before you today with a unified voice. We reiterate our call for enhanced action on children. We urge the group to continue to pursue a UN action plan for children that builds on accelerating implementation of SDGs from a child-sensitive, gender-responsive and child rights perspective. Our agencies together are strong believers of children and youth, two distinct right-holding groups as agents of change. They have their own views and, as the Convention on the Rights of the Child, have a right to freely express those views and to be taken seriously, especially when it comes to matters that impact their lives. Finally, together we can do this. So I'm so encouraged to join you today at this group of friends on children and the SDGs. There has never been a more pressing time to come together, to listen to children, to act and to learn. So I thank you so much for all your work in this area.
Thank you, Mr. Andrew Morley, for speaking on the importance to support the development and protect children around the world, especially after the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as the importance of youth voice, but not only listening to youth, but also acting on what they have to say. I would now like to invite His Excellency, Mr. Gabriel Leonard, National Secretary for Childhood, Adolescence and Family of the Ministry of Social Development of Argentina.
En la República Argentina, en mi país,
In the Argentine Republic, in my country, there are 1.5 million of children and adolescents. And we know there are incredible challenges because we want that the dreams of all these children and young people are made true. There are inequality issues. Access to education is a problem. Even nutrition is a problem for some of them. There are lots of public policies developed by the municipal and provincial governments, also civil society and NGOs, which try to promote equality. We have a commitment that we have in Argentina. An important point is to create that children and adolescents can take part in public policies, and the challenges are approached taking into account the rights of children and teenagers. One example is that for the first time in Argentina, we have created an advisory board of teenagers made up of adolescents from the whole country with different perspectives, different gender identities, even cultural things. Some of them even come from Aboriginal groups. So this advisory board challenges the authorities, talks, makes proposals. So we try to reproduce this experience in every municipality, in all the different governments. This has led to interesting results. We are looking to acknowledge children's rights and participation of children and teenagers, so that it's not an individual issue, but that the government acknowledges that children and adolescents are listened to, and this has an effect into action. The more we listen and the more we adapt our public policies to what they say, the public policies will be better that way. I read an Italian author, and he says that democracy is good for children and teenagers and children are good for democracy. It's good that children can enjoy their rights, but if children and teenagers can also take part of democracy, I think it's a simple statement, but the idea reflects the commitment that we have in Argentina. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Leonard, for those messages on the participation of children from all backgrounds and for allowing youth to take part in policymaking. The next country is Belgium. Minister Mariam, Minister of Development Cooperation and Major Cities Policy, has taken youth participation seriously. While the minister herself unfortunately cannot join us, she wanted young people to speak up and has kindly provided her speaking slot to youth advocate Margot. Thank you, Minister Kitir, and Margot, over to you.
Thank you. Dear Excellencies, dear ladies and gentlemen, how many female leaders do you know within your network? When you really think about it, what have you done to make space for girls and women in leadership roles at your institution or organization? My name is Margot and I'm 24 years old. I could say I was lucky. I benefited from the right to education and it has defined my life. It is a reason why I'm proud today to address you as a young woman, as a researcher in educational sciences, and as a youth activist from Plan International. It is my education that gave me the opportunity to be here today on the invitation of Minister Kitir, who has put children's and girls' rights at the center of her policy. So again, you could maybe say I was lucky, but honestly, I shouldn't feel that way. For the world to change, we must strengthen girls' leadership opportunities and listen to girls' voices and experiences to ensure that their needs and problems are addressed. Listening to girls' voices should not be restricted to a symbolic action. I wonder, what efforts have you made to create meaningful participation in your respective capacities? And could this forum be a first step? Today, girls and women are leading global movements. Think of the #MeToo movements or actions against climate change. Girls and women are change makers. They influence decision-making at many levels and even change prevailing gender norms. But this is not something that can be taken for granted. Even now, in 2021, women are still heavily underrepresented in leadership roles. For example, only 25% of parliamentarians worldwide are women. We must shift to a society where girls and women are involved in decisions about their lives and their education. The COVID-19 pandemic has led to extreme poverty, and it has reduced educational opportunities of children, especially girls. Worldwide, millions of girls will not return to school after the pandemic. And it's not just a pandemic that has catastrophic consequences. Do you know how many women are displaced by climate change? 80%. 80% of all displaced people in the world are women. Therefore, let's start today to work towards meaningful participation on 3 levels. At the individual level, girls must be given the space to be authentic and to develop individually, free from gender norms, violence, or discrimination. At the school level, teachers must educate girls to become critical and active citizens. They should provide a democratic learning environment in which students develop participation and decision-making skills. At the policy level, girls must be involved and given ownership of decisions that affect their lives in a structural and sustainable way from both an education and climate policy perspective. Each and every girl is a powerful change agent and must be educated equally. I am here today not just to pronounce these words. I am here today to demand action. Now, more than ever, we need to continue to invest in girls' education. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I am here talking to you today, and it's my right, but it should not be an exception. I should not be an exception. The rights of girls and all children should not depend on luck. The rights of girls and children wherever may never depend on luck. I thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Margot, for your words on the importance of empowering women and girls around the world, especially through education. Our next speaker is Ms. Francesca de Apostole, legal advisor to the Office of the First Lady of El Salvador.
Buenos días a todos. Mi nombre es Francesca Rivas.
Hello, everybody. My name is Francesca Rivas, and here I'm with Juan. He is one of the boys from our institution in Salvador and the city of Jaul. And in the name of the Salvador Republic, I would like to thank you all the participants of this forum. I would like to congratulate and thanks the UNICEF. Thank you for all the efforts that you have been doing along with us in my country, El Salvador. Especially, we are assessing the norm of protecting the child rights, and UNICEF has supported us greatly, and thanks to them, we have helped many children and young people in this process. So this children protection law was voted in the 2009 in El Salvador, and in this moment, it's the occasion to reassess this norm because there were some deficiencies and gaps during the deployment of this law. And with this in mind, we have tried to improve it. Yes, please take a seat. We have tried to improve, and we want to make sure that we actually drive changes towards children and young people in Salvador. Also, we have new policies focusing in the early childhood, which has been promoted by the First Lady of the nation. And the name of this law is Growing Together. It focuses in the early childhood. It means since pregnancy till the 8 years of age. And with this in mind, Growing Together is based in 4 piles. We have education and care, nutrition and the health, safety, environment, and 4th, the protection approach. This policy has over 260 items, and it's going to be, or it's being deployed by all the government institutions. For us, the government of El Salvador, young people, it's a priority. And And we have been very lucky to have UNICEF support for all our initiatives. We've been 2 years in this government, and we had many successes, very real, concrete success. Here, Juan, it's a proof of the success that we've been driving here. And well, we wanted to thank you all to share what we're doing here, to share our experience. We wanted to commend you that all this process, it's been documented, the new legislation, the legal framework, all it's going to be documented, all the public consultation is going to be documented, as well as the deployment of the new policies that are being developed within this framework. So we are always working along hand in hand with the UNICEF and to all the countries, all the peers, colleagues that you would like to know further on our methodology that we're doing here in my country. So please feel free to ask as many questions. We will be happy to listen to you, and I hope we can have a long-term cooperation. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your remarks, Mrs. D'Apostole. You spoke about the protection of children's rights, especially in early childhood, and El Salvador's policy working towards such goals. Our next speaker is Her Excellency Ms. Mia Ren, the Deputy Permanent Representative of Finland.
Good morning from New York. Finland is actively working for building a better future for every child. It is my pleasure to introduce this pre-recorded video by Ville Skinnari, Minister for Development Cooperation and Foreign Trade, and our youth speaker, Julia Keijupuro. In their statement, they will address Finland's views and commitments for children in the field of technology, innovation, and AI.
Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Julia, and I'm here to represent a Finnish Generation Equality Youth Group coordinated by UN Women Finland and Plan International Finland. I am proud of my country that has made bold commitments to advance gender equality through technology and innovation. Technology can be a powerful tool to advance equality. If we want inclusive solutions to tackle our challenges in the future, we need youth, sexual, gender, ethnic, and religious minorities, disabled, women and girls to be in teams that create technology. I have tried to get my voice heard in decisions that affect my life. It has been exhausting. This is why I find internet and social media important channels to youth, and especially those whose voices are often ignored. I participate and take actions online. I want to discuss and share my thoughts. Online gender-based violence and hate speech is narrowing our spaces and making me and my peers feel unsafe and unwell. It's a threat to equal participation and even democracy. We need algorithms that protect people that are oppressed. As individuals, we must come together to create technology and online spaces that advance gender equality. We need governments and technology companies to make sure that everyone is able to express safely who they are and what they think. We all have right to feel and be safe online.
Dear participants, child and youth representatives, as we heard from Julia, technology can be a positive transformative force, but it can also deepen digital disparities. Digital leap taken during the COVID pandemic highlights the importance of human rights, governance, and ethical consideration especially when it comes to children and young people. As Julia rightly noted, the online environment plays an important role in many young people's lives. It also has foreign negative aspects. In addition to online gender-based violence and hate speech, the rapid development of AI raises questions related to privacy. With every click, children and young people's personal data is being collected, and this digital footprint follows them into their adulthood. Concerns over privacy and the use of their data are growing. The work of the Generation Equality Action Coalition on Technology and Innovation that Finland is co-leading is in many ways creating new paths. We are happy that UNICEF is with us in this process. One of the commitments joint project with UNICEF to create virtual safe spaces in the Generation Equality campaign. The project facilitates access to information and services to adolescent girls in a safe way. Finland is also very proud to have supported and worked closely with UNICEF to create policy guidance on AI for children to promote human rights in the digital age. It's crucial that children and young people's rights to privacy and their autonomy as actors are taken into account in designing services, regulation, and policy. Dear participants, UNICEF is a key partner to Finland in our efforts to leverage innovation and technology for sustainable development and for the benefit of all. Finland has contributed for several years now to the UNICEF Venture Fund, which is the first mover in the UN innovation architecture. Our partnership with UNICEF will deepen further as UNICEF will establish 2 innovation hubs in Finland for accelerating innovations for children in 2 areas: learning and innovative financing. These hubs will address the global learning crisis and the growing funding worldwide. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, if we are to reimagine and create a better and more sustainable future for all, we need to listen to children and young people and include them as stakeholders in the policy-making process and in conversations about the future. And most importantly, we have to provide sustainable solutions. Thank you.
Thank you for those key messages on youth participation, especially in the online environment, where there is the perpetual threat of gender-based violence and hate speech, in addition to a list of other concerns. We now have His Excellency Mr. Ásmundur Einar Daðason, Icelandic Minister of Social Affairs and Children, who will be speaking on a pre-recorded video.
My name is Ásmundur Einar Daðason. I am Minister of Children and Social Affairs in Iceland. I am pleased to participate in the inaugural Global Forum for Children and Youth and to announce that Iceland has committed to making child participation, consultations and mutual discussions with children a red thread through all of our government structures. Active listening between people in power and children and young people is a necessary factor in the creation of more equal and better society for all children, and we decided it was a time to act. The implementation of our commitment has already started and will be in full effect by 2023. We urge other governments to join us in responding to the demands of children like those in Iceland and all over the world, to give their voices, experiences, and opinions the respect and space they are provided in the Convention on the Rights of the Child, and deliver the fairer, greener future we have promised children and young people.
I am now pleased to introduce His Excellency, Permanent Representative of Iceland, Mr. Jörundur Baltisson.
Thank you, Yasin, and thank you, Salome. Madam Executive Director Henrietta, good to see you. Colleagues, it's an honor for Iceland to take part in this group or Friends Community session at the inaugural Global Forum for Children and Youth. Iceland is often considered to be among the countries that have the best living conditions for children. However, we fully recognize that we still have a long way to go. We need to continue working toward gearing services in the interest of children and prosperity. A positive step in that direction is Iceland's new welfare system for children, which ensures that children that require integrated services, along with their caregivers, have appropriate unhindered access. This, of course, calls for a substantial increase in the government's investment in services for children and families. And that's certainly what it is, an investment, and a good investment, I might add, both from a child's rights standpoint as well as from an economic perspective. Developing policy plans for children requires us to listen to children and react to the demands. And as our Minister for Education and Children just highlighted, Iceland's policy and action plan for the implementation of the Convention of the Rights of the Child makes child participation a systemic part of the development of any future policy and legislation impacting children in Iceland. I'm therefore so pleased to introduce Maya Tipton, who is 15 years old and a member of the Icelandic Youth Council on the Sustainable Development Goals. Maya will tell us more about her experiences as a young person in Iceland and why it is important for policymakers to listen to children and youth. So Maya, over to you. Thank you.
Hi, can you see me? Yeah. Okay, so hi, I'm Maya, and I'll be discussing the effects of COVID and the mental health of our children and such like. As we near the 2-year anniversary of when the world went into lockdown due to COVID, we are beginning to see the effects it had on our youth globally. We have had our schools and sports clubs closed, gone without meeting our friends and family members for long periods of time, and have worried about the health of ourselves and loved ones alike. The importance of the older generation empowered to acknowledge the struggles children face through these tough times is an essential part of moving forward and past the effects of the pandemic. Our voices need to be heard and, more importantly, listened to. We are the next generation that will be in decision-making positions, and if we are going to achieve such great things as solving global warming, curing deadly diseases, or be the better version of our parents, we need the support of adults and for them to acknowledge the struggles children face in the new world and flaws caused by this pandemic. Rather than shaming us for things that could be done differently, we need guidance and support. My generation has an extreme amount of potential, so let us shine by helping us, guiding us, and most importantly, listening to us. In Iceland, we have a youth organization such as the Sdg Youth Council, which I am a part of. This council consists of 12 children that come from all over the country. We have meetings with the government once a year, where we present our proposals for how the government could step up their game in relation to the SDGs. We work on those proposals at our meetings throughout the year. Goal 10.2 in the Sustainable Development Goals describes the importance of this well. It expresses the importance of political, social, and economical inclusion for all, including children and young people. Thank you.
Thank you all for talking on the need to support youth and what Iceland is doing to ensure that children are well protected and their investments into children and families. We now have Her Excellency Ms. Beatrice Elachi, Kenyan Chief Administrative Secretary of the Ministry of Public Service, Gender, Senior Citizens Affairs, and Special Programs, who will be speaking through a pre-recorded video.
Children make up almost half of Kenya's population, and as a country, we have always endeavored to ensure that we have laws, policies, institutions, and programs that promote children's rights. It is paramount to remind ourselves that the family remains the fundamental nurturing and caring environment, and it's the ideal place in which to raise a child. Placing children in their original communities, giving them identity, sense of belonging, and goes a long way to help them benefit from support networks in the community. I am pleased to announce today that with the support from UNICEF, the Ministry has finalized the development of a care reform strategy which will provide a guide on various approaches and modalities on how to retain children within families and communities, prevent separation from their families, and ensure those children's institutions are successfully reunited and reintegrated back in families and communities. Implementation of the care reform strategy will require a multi-sectoral collaborative approach to ensure we bring up children in a family-based care environment such as biological families, kinship care, foster care, guardianship, or adoption, and to support families and communities through family strengthening and linking to social protection programs for sustainability. As I conclude, allow me to congratulate UNICEF once again and other stakeholders and commit to continue working with you to strengthen systems and procedures to ensure children are better protected from violence, harmful practices, and to work towards family-based care options for those living without parental care. Thank you.
We are also joined by Angela, a young advocate from Kenya who will share a message.
My name is Angela Andia. I'm 12 years old. I go to Mbagathi Road Primary School in Nairobi, Kenya. Problem facing children in Kenya is drugs. This is where a child uses drugs because of peer pressure so that he or she can please their friends. Another one is teenage pregnancy. Teenage pregnancy is caused by lack of basic needs. And mostly girls, they go looking for money to cater for their needs. Lack of education. Because their parents don't have money to pay their school fees. Violence against children. What I would like our leaders to do is make education free, sending officials to come and teach every child about effects of drugs, and then they should build more hospitals and schools, speak out against violence against children, and the last one, report all cases of violence involving children. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency and Angela, for talking on Kenya's work to support families as a way to protect children sustainably, as well as on how peer pressure can result in negative effects to children, for example, the taking of harmful drugs. Our next speaker will be Her Excellency Ms. Maria Inés Castillo de San Martin, Panamanian Minister of Social Development, who will also be speaking via a pre-recorded video.
Buen día a todas y todos. Es para mí un honor participar en nombre de Panamá.
Everybody, it's for me an honor to participate in this high-level meeting of our friends of childhood within the framework of the celebration of the World Forum for Children and Youth, co-chaired by the governments of Bulgaria, Jamaica, and Luxembourg in the Alliance for UNICEF. Human rights are indivisible, comprehensive, but above all, inalienable. And in the case of our children and adolescents, this concept takes one even greater importance. In that sense, the greatest challenge for our government is to ensure that all children and adolescents, especially those who are today in vulnerable situations, can enjoy their rights. And therefore, it is necessary to adopt comprehensive and articulated strategies to prevention, accompaniment, and protection of our children and adolescents. In this sense, one of the main commitments of this government, chaired by His Excellency Mr. President Laurentino Cortizo Torre, is the development and consolidation of a comprehensive protection system for children and adolescents. Through this system, we seek to establish horizontal alignment from public and private sectors, central and local institutions, as well as national organizations that provide services to children and adolescents. We have worked closely with alliances with the different organisms of the state, as well as with other sectors such as civil society and academia, to achieve a consensus and to promote the creation and the approval of a frame law that creates the system, which allowed that currently today it's a project of law that was approved in a first debate and that we expect it to be formally approved in early 2022 in the law of the Republic. This project contemplates both guiding principles as well as organizing an operational design that establishes mechanisms of effectiveness, application, and flexibility. Overall, this project seems to promote a process of construction, transformation, and strengthening of our institutions through the adoption of inter and in-house and outside institutional work practices with clear skills. On the other hand, and being also the evidence of the commitment of this government, we have voted the law for the early childhood, and we have worked to determine a budget for children protected by this law, and the constant participation and articulation with civil society through spaces such as the National Council of Children and Youth, which we seek to empower through a clear agenda and actions both in the short and the long term. Likewise, we're updating the early childhood policy from 0 to 8 years, so that at the beginning of the next year, we have the new package of services and high care that will be presented under a comprehensive and articulated approach. This is the precise moment to reaffirm the acquired commitments, but more than that, we want to move forward into a real fulfillment of these rights. We have in front of us the sustainable development of our nation that it summarized in recognizing, respecting, and guaranteeing the human rights of all children and adolescents without any type of distinction. Therefore, today, I would like to close my speech saying that our government is firmly committed to improving the quality of life and ensuring the fulfillment of the rights of our children and adolescents. Thank you very much.
Thank you for speaking and sharing messages on the importance of protection and participation of youth, as well as Panama's commitment to improving the lives of children around the world. Our next speaker is His Excellency, Mr. Mahmoud Ozer, Minister of National Education of Turkey.
Ekselansları, kıymetli bakanlar, sevgili gençler ve çocuklar, hepinizi saygıyla selamlıyorum. Çocuklar, masumiyetleriyle dünyamızın geleceğine dair umutlarımızı yeşertecek yegane değerimiz, ortak paydamız. Bu ortak paydada çocuklarımızın üstün yararını gözetmek, potansiyellerini ortaya çıkarmalarına destek olmak, sosyal, duygusal, bilişsel becerilerinin gelişmesini sağlamak, sağlıklı ve mutlu bir ortamda büyümelerine katkıda bulunmak en önemli önceliklerimiz. Okul öncesinden lise bitimine kadar kapsayıcı bir yaklaşımla tüm öğrencilerin eğitim erişimi, devamı, eşit fırsatlara sahip olması ve çağın gereksinimleriyle donatılması yönünde politikalar oluşturuyor ve bu politikaları hayata geçiriyoruz. Türkiye, çocukların okula erişimi konusunda üstün başarı elde etmiş ülkelerden bir tanesidir. Eğitimden uzak kalmış tek bir çocuk kalmayana dek bu mücadelemiz hız kesmeden devam edecek. Ayrıca diğer bakanlıklarımızla ve uluslararası kuruluşlarla işbirliği içerisinde çocuk işçiliğinin önünde bir duvar gibi durmak ve hassas gruptaki öğrencilerimizin eğitime devam oranlarını artırarak geleceklerine ışık tutmak öncelikle hedeflerimiz arasındadır. Bakanlığımız çocuk haklarının üretilmesi başta olmak üzere hak ihlallerini önlemeye ve toplumsal farkındalık oluşturmaya yönelik çok sayıda çalışma yapmaktadır. Bu doğrultuda yapılanlardan kısaca bahsetmek isterim. Bakanlık bünyesinde kurduğumuz Çocuk Hakları Araştırma ve Geliştirme Merkezi ile çocuklarımızın haklarının korunmasına, yaygınlaşmasına ve bu konuda farkındalık oluşturulmasına katkı sağlıyor. Çocuk haklarına saygılı bir toplumun gelişimini müfredatımızla ebeveynlere sunduğumuz çeşitli eğitimlerle destekliyoruz. Tüm ders kitaplarını öğrencilerimize ücretsiz sunuyor. Kurslardan temel kırtasiye malzemelerine hatta oyuncaklara kadar çok çeşitli yardımlarla hassas gruptaki öğrencilerimizi destekliyoruz. Ülkemizde geçici koruma altındaki çocuklarımızın fiziksel, bilişsel, sosyal, duygusal gelişimleri ve ülkemize uyumları kapsamında gerekli hizmetleri sunmaya azami özen gösteriyoruz. Doğal afet, göç, salgın, hastalık ve benzeri sebepler nedeniyle ihtiyaç duyan öğrencilerimize her türlü tilaki eğitimleri veriyoruz. Bakanlık olarak içinde binlerce ücretsiz dijital içeriğin bulunduğu ve öğrencilerin bilimsel gelişimlerini yapay zeka ile destekleyen eğitim bilişim ağı, mobil destek noktaları, gezi sınıf gibi pek çok farklı yolla öğrencilerimizin eğitime erişimini kolaylaştırıyor, fırsat eşitliğinin önündeki engelleri kaldırıyor. Mesleki eğitime kazandırma programı çocuk işçiliğine karşı atılmış en önemli adımlardan biri. Program kapsamında 14-17 yaşları arasında okuldan uzaklaşan öğrencilerimizi tekrar eğitime kazandırıyor. Bu çocuklarımızın meslek sahibi olmalarına yardımcı oluyor. Mevsimlik tarım işçisi göçer ve yarı göçer ailelerin çocuklarının eğitime erişimini hane hane takip ediyor. Sunduğumuz ek hizmetlerle öğrencilerimizi ve ailelerini destekliyor. Okul öncesi eğitimin yaygınlaşması, 5 yaşın eğitime erişiminin %100'e çıkartılması, bu konuda farkındalığın artması için bir seferberlik ilan ettik ve el birliğiyle bu hususdaki çalışmalarımızı sürdürdük. Dostlar grubunun kıymeti temsilcileri, din, dil, ırk ayrımı gözetmeksizin tüm çocuklarımızı çağın becerileriyle donatmak, bu donanımı insanlık hayrına sarf edebilecek değerlere sahip olmasını sağlamak, bilime, doğaya ve sanata ilgi duyan nitelikli bireyler yetiştirmek temel hedefimizdir. Çocuk haklarına yönelik küresel düzeyde yapılacak çalışmalarla daha mutlu ve yaşanabilir bir dünyanın temellerini de birlikte atmış olacağız. Ülkemiz bu konuda yapılacak çalışmalarda her daim yer almış ve bundan sonra da yer almaya devam edecektir. Dünyadaki her bir çocuğun iyiliğini gaye edinerek bu oturuma katılan herkese ve bizleri bir araya getiren UNICEF'e teşekkür ediyor. Saygılarımı sunuyorum.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for describing to us the ways in which the Ministry of National Education in Turkey is supporting and protecting children, working towards equal opportunities for all children, including from children from vulnerable backgrounds. Also from Turkey, our next speaker is Her Excellency Ms. Darya Yanik, Turkish Minister of Family and Social Services, speaking also on a pre-recorded video.
Beloved children, dear youth, I embrace love and the most sincere feelings. I hope this forum on a global scale will lead to positive developments for all the children and youth of the world. As you all know, every child, regardless of their nationality, country or culture, is born with rights and is equally respected. It is the duty of humanity to protect children and their fundamental rights and prepare them for the future. With the awareness you have, your sense of responsibility and self-confidence transform your right to participate into a social power and value in these platforms. Thus, you not only have power over your own lives, but also stand among the architects of our common future. As Turkey, we attach great importance to children's right to participate as well as their best interests, which we set as a main goal in all our endeavors. We have established provincial child rights committees under the authority of my ministry, the Ministry of Family and Social Services, in each and every one of our provinces. It's one of the best examples in the world, aiming to ensure child participation in consultation and problem-solving processes. Every year on 20th of November, these committees organize national children's forums. This year, its 22nd session has been held with the theme Children in a Digitalizing World. The final declaration presented at the end of the forum became one of the concrete documents of our children's sense of responsibility that respect ethical values and the richness of their thoughts. As you are all aware, the fact that digital technologies such as computers and the internet have taken a much stronger place in our lives, including educational processes, have created some negative thoughts. In addition, it's a fact that we all know that the digital transformation process we experience will be ever more pervasive in our lives as we walk into the future. Digital literacy, which enables us to be aware of the advantages and disadvantages of this world, has a non-negligible importance for the present and future of our children. Therefore, the Digital Literacy License project of the children in Turkey, which is included in the final declaration of the Second National Children's Forum, is an extremely useful proposal. I'd like to thank our children for their foresight, analytical approach, and idealism on the issue. On behalf of my ministry, I hereby openly declare that we will complete the content of trainings that will meet their expectations and disseminate it in all of our provinces as soon as possible. I believe that our activities aimed at developing digital literacy skills and creating the necessary knowledge and awareness for safe internet use will contribute to the creation of healthier environments for the development of our children. The future should be shaped in the hands of the societies that use technology in a people-oriented way and are aware of their responsibilities. While ending my speech, I greet you all with love and extend my sincere wishes for any efforts that goes into the welfare for our children and youth.
İleride güvenli bir dijital dünya için bizimle birlikte çalışmaya var mısınız?
Thank you very much for sharing with us those important messages on children's rights in the digital world and Turkey's digital literacy license project working towards that. We are now coming to the end of our session today. I would first like to apologize for running over time, and I hope you have been able to join us to the end, because I think we all realize the importance of hearing youth participation in policymaking. Thank you to all our distinguished speakers and guests who participated in this meeting today. From global champions to local action, today's community session of the Group of Friends of Children and the SDGs has unquestionably demonstrated the compromise of these member states to champion children's rights at the national level. Young people have spoken and shared their perspective on the importance of mental health, the environment, and the impact that the pandemic has had on education. It has been a productive experience with great input from leaders on youth participation, how children can be involved in policymaking, and the importance of highlighting education for children. Once again, thank you and enjoy the rest of the CY21 program.